Hello everyone. So, what have we all been up to? Right. When I first started, I had this. It's called an Artex stick. They use it for mixing up Artex, right? But back then, before my time, they'd use a metal bar like this, and there'd be a bicycle cog on the end, and they'd weld it. Or you get one of these, right? You don't see hardly anyone does this method anymore. Now, I worked 5 years after learning plastering when I went by myself. For the first 5 years, I had this. I didn't have a drill, didn't have any drill whatsoever, and I'd go on sites and I'd be mixing up by hand and everyone would be using a drill. Most of all the jobs I've done, I started off with this, never had a drill. When I invested in a drill, I got a Fox drill. But it was only after I was doing big sets, when I was using big buckets like a 75 litre. The one I was using before this was a 50 litre. Now every plasterer always starts off with a small bucket, one bag. One whole bag there's probably, to put a whole bag in there probably overfill, so just under a bag you can get in one of these. Now I'm only doing a small set in under the stairs, so I don't need to do the big mix. But I just want to show you how, for those who have never ever mixed up by hand, and I should imagine there's quite a lot of you, apart from anyone who's over 30, would have probably started off with one of these. So, same principle, just when you use a drill. You need obviously wet everything that comes into contact with plastering you wet. Don't mix up dry. Make sure you've got your bucket trail, okay? So that's your bucket trail, yeah? Some of you probably even know what that is. Right. Bag what you need, and just pour it in. Ideally you should wear a face mask or have windows open to let the dust go through. And then up and down, you just mix it, spin it around. I prefer this way if I'm honest with you. I mean, when I was doing it like this, I kept the weight off. I was around 14 stone for a very, very long time, but once I got into the drill and started mixing up and I was no longer doing this, the weight slowly kept going, but the weight slowly came on. But I had a 32-inch waist and my back had a lovely V shape, just by mixing up, doing this by hand. Now my son, he's not here at the minute, he's just popped to the shop. He's been starting off with this. I've not introduced him to the drill yet. He's learning the proper way, the traditional way of mixing up plaster. Because you need to know how to mix up by hand in case you are working somewhere and you get a power cut. There's nothing worse than mixing up and you have a power cut and you can't use the electric and you're in the middle of a mix. So always, I recommend all you plasterers get an Artex stick, have it in the back of your van or in the back of your car, prepared just in case. Believe it or not, I've seen people, right, with a hand drill with a little whisk that you use for mixing up paint with, and I've used them. I've seen them use them to mix up plaster. Yeah. Now that's been a long time since I've done it like this. And I forgot, you gotta be consistent and use a lot of speed. So just make sure you scrape around the edges to get any dry bits that hasn't diluted the water yet. I'm talking about the plaster. Now this can be messy, hence why plasters used to make a lot of mess back in the day, mixed up one of these. Ideally, you want all the floors covered, but all in here, it's going to be laminate flooring, so it's just a case of scraping up all the plaster that's on the floor, sweeping it all up, and then putting the PVA glue on the floor to keep the dust down. Well, this is a test of endurance, strength, and fitness. Plus, this will give you big guns. Now, Marcus, I recommend you should use this and get your labourer to have a go, old school way, and see how long you both last. I know you'll be watching this. As a labourer, I had to mix up like this all day long for a gang of 4 spreaders. So literally, I'd mix up 2 of them, because we didn't have big buckets like them. What you did have was the water butts, just to cut them in half, and we'd mix up one of them. But for a gang, if I didn't have these buckets, I'd have to mix up maybe 4 of them for each plasterer. And then we'd pour it on a table, so you get a plasterer's table. It's very rare you see a plasterer use that now, because no, mind you, Marcus has still got one, he uses one. But other plasterers I know of work out of a bucket, I work out of a bucket. But back then, if there was a load of it, you'd have a big table, a big board, they use PVA, both sides, right? You do this a couple of days before you do the plaster, you PVA the board. Okay, and then that'd be, and then you have a table, and you sit the board on top of that, and then you'd lift this up and pour all onto the table. When you have a big mound of it, and then what you do is you then scoop the plaster off onto your hook. Whereas this, you bucket, you get your bucket trowel, and then you scoop and put it on your hook. But then, scoop straight off the board. To be fair, I would say it's a lot quicker to work off a plastering board than it is to be scooping out of a bucket. So I may go back to the old way and use a plastering board and have it all set up so I can just scoop off the table and go where I want to go instead of going into a bucket and having to scoop out of the bucket. Sometimes you catch the handles. How many of you plasterers call these handles when you're getting your bucket trailer? Oh, it's annoying. Anyway. Yeah. Done. There you have it. So that will go around like that. To be fair, bits of plaster on the front there. To be fair, it's the same really. Alright, I'll put the drill in there and maybe mix that in maybe seconds. But you know something, if you want to get in shape and you want to remain fit, go back to the old way. Now, doing this every day, all the time, you'd soon get fit, you'd get big guns, a lovely big back, and you'd shift the fat. On site, I wouldn't really recommend this because on site you're on a price. And you've got to go some. Now I used to do this all the time. all the time on sites, mixing up. That's because I loved it. I loved the physicality of it. Being able to mix up, I felt strong, felt fit, and it kept me in good shape, so I enjoyed it. But for those who are not like that, I recommend you using the drill, especially if you're on price work. If you're just on doing what I'm doing, working in houses and old builds and new builds, as in new developments that is, for a private builder for yourself, do it any way you want to do it. I will do another video later on with my son, mixing up by hand, the old way. And you see how long he lasts. He'll be complaining, he'll be moaning, and my arms ache, my back ache. Like all you youngsters. But back then, it was all about earning money and learning a trade. Professional way and the old school way. It's always good to know the old school as well as the new generation of doing things, yeah? Mixing up by hand. We had a big bath, plastic bath they call it. And for your bonding, your hardwood, your browning, that's what you mixed up in with a shovel. You done it all by hand with a shovel, you didn't use a drill. For bonding adhesive, you still mixed up, but you'd have like a gutter bucket, because it's more flexy. You'd mix up with one of them using this. Everything you'd mix up with a shovel or one of these. Now you've got a drill, or you've got like cement mixers that you can use. Yeah. Fucking hardcore. Woo! The only other problem with this is that the plaster sticks to the wood. So I wouldn't scrape that into your plaster, just wash it off, yeah? There you have it, clean-ish. So, there you have it, just over half a bucket of multi-finish. It's not a full bag. I'm not doing a big set, I'm just doing a small seed in there. That's how you mix up the old school way, using an Artex mixing stick, or if you got one, a metal bar with a welded bicycle clock. Right, take care everyone. Whoa!